Singing bowls have been prevalent in Asia for thousands of years. A mallet wrapped in leather is rubbed around the edge of the bowl in a process similar to using a wet fingertip to produce a musical tone from the edge of a wine glass. The bowl begins to slightly change shape, its edge shifting from round to oval. That creates a series of waves on the water's surface, starting from the edge of the bowl. More and more energy can be put into the rubbing, changing the smooth, symmetrical waves into a roiling mass of water, fizzing with droplets and chaotic waves. Slow-motion video of the process shows how these waves crash into each other and droplets tear free into the air. Under certain conditions, droplets like the one at the left can actually bounce on the surface of the water. At this point, the deformation of the bowl's edge can actually be seen as it squeezes from one oval shape into another.
Grimerica.
They would have said to you, right, as a little tiny child said, God, we have no idea what you are. We don't even know what sex you are. You have to choose everything for yourself. And we will investigate all of these things.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be talking higher self and lower self with Rhys Thomas a little bit later.
Our purpose. Discovering our purpose.
Discovering our purpose. When we did our little test.
We do surveys.
Find out how we did in our surveys. You keep it down over there. And all sorts of fun stuff like that. You guys should enjoy it. But first, as always, Graham, I'm the guy that follows the streaker to make sure nothing happens to him, Dunlop. Oh, man.
I'm getting a little sick about you putting words in my mouth. I didn't say follow the streaker, did I? I just said I was around when he was streaking, no. Probably. Like, it wasn't me streaking, that's all. I was just explaining I was there.
Oh, man. Some of the stuff that comes out of your mouth in the day. I just looked at Cindy. I was just like, oh, my God. I couldn't make it out.
Have you ever been at a stag where one of your friends is just like running down the middle of a city street? And it wasn't just streaking through the country. I mean, he was streaking, like he was a long run. It was about 3Ks.
And you followed him?
It's part of the way, I
think. How did that come up? I can't remember. I asked you if you ever streak. No.
Well, okay. Well, you're making fun of me. And it came up because you're apparently like to get naked when you're drunk.
Yeah,
and your friends have all seen you naked, and you're like this. You are a streaker. So you're laughing at me for following a streaker halfway.
I'd rather be the streaker than the guy chasing the streaker.
And you're admitting you're a streaker.
I would like to see you chasing the streaker down the road. I just picture that in my head. Oh, you okay?
Did you see? Did you see that highlight from the football game of the streaker?
Oh yeah, he made it like 98 yards.
Yeah, that was really funny how the announcer just kept going like the whole thing, like he's actually like a player.
60,
or something. Yeah,
50.
They're not going to catch him.
He got more yards than
the whole team that game.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
that's a good one though.
Somebody just showed it to me. I don't follow it at all.
Yeah, I like a good streaking story though.
So are you off of sugar?
No,
right now. You're thinking about it?
No, I just had a Red Bull, just jam full of sugar.
Well, is it?
Yeah.
How much sugar's in it?
And I had a tea with some honey in it. I got some raw unpasteurized honey at the.
You should give me some of that. I looked, they don't even sell it in Safeway.
I think I have a card. There's some farmer over here who's had all kinds.
Really? Yeah.
Had lemon honey. I got the cinnamon honey.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and raw unpasteurized.
So, but you are obviously cutting out normal sugar because usually you don't. You know, I used to dump a lot of fucking white refined sugar into your coffee.
I still do.
Do you?
Yeah, in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little less, but
really.
But I'm not there yet. I'm just still sort of sussing it out.
You're weaning yourself off it.
Sussing it out, getting a feel for it. You know, it's a big step.
Go to brown sugar first.
Why is that better?
Yeah, of course. Anything white and refined is not good. Flour, sugar, all that stuff.
Well, I use cane sugar right now. I use organic cane sugar.
Well, that's kind of the brown sugar I was talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's better than the refined white sugar, but I think
I need to get off all
bad.
it. Even honey's not great. You get off all that. I don't want to cut. I don't want to get it off it completely.
Some people say honey's good. So
I'm not to the point that I need to get off it completely. I just need to. I would like to really minimize it. I don't need to quit. I don't say, but I'd like to really minimize it. Or at least maybe you can do completely sugar-free. For 4 days of the week.
Yeah.
And on the weekend, you can have a little dessert, or you make cookies, or you bake a pie, or whatever the fuck find something that works for me. I think Lisa's kind of into, but and she might even be more committed than I am, but I'm not. I mean, I know how committed I am, and I don't want to set unrealistic goals. I'm not looking to go sugar-free. I'm not, obese. I'd like to lose a little bit of weight, lose my gut. And I'd like to be healthy. I'd like to feel better. I'd like to be healthier. I'd like to start just cutting it out because I already eat fairly healthy, right? I don't eat crap. I don't eat a lot of fast food. Once in a while, once or twice a month, maybe I'm eating fast food. For the most part, I have my smoothies.
And a healthy meal at night, really. You don't even eat a lot of lunch, do you? You don't even eat a lot.
You
snack at night.
I don't eat a lot of lunch. I usually, it depends. I can have lunch.
Snacking
so that's the thing, though, is because if I'm gonna have lunch, I'll have New York fries. I have quite a bit. I really like the classic New York fries poutine. So if I'm ever around that, I'll have that. Sometimes, or if I have time to go into a restaurant and sit down and.
What about the late night snacking?
That's a problem.
Yeah. See, if you just cut that out, no snacking after lunch, after dinner,
but I get hungry.
That'd be huge.
So I got to find, hungry. I just got to wait a minute. Fuck off.
It's not hunger.
It's because I didn't have lunch. It's because I don't eat enough throughout the day, I think, is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because I don't have breakfast. I just have a smoothie most days. And that's even if I don't have a smoothie, I just don't have a smoothie. It doesn't mean I have breakfast. I don't have breakfast 99% of the time.
So here's how you'd lose weight.
And then most days I don't have lunch, and then I just have a fair-sized dinner.
So skip right. So stop eating at night after dinner, and then skip right through to your smoothie. Do a little intermittent fast, 2 or 3 days times a week. So go from dinner to 10 or 12 the next day. And have your smoothie, and then you'll start shedding weight.
Yeah, but then I'll be fucking hungry all the time.
No, you're not. Just have water, and water is fine.
Well, thanks. I can have some water. Maybe that's enough. I was thinking about just making that something more healthy.
Because there's a bit of a debate on whether breakfast is even that important. Some people don't even have a lot for breakfast. That's when you're burning up a lot of stuff. I don't know. And then some people say it's better to have more calories in the morning, and then. Yeah, it's interesting how there's different stories on both sides of it.
Yeah.
Even calories at night, carbs in the morning compared to carbs at night.
What was
I stopped
no
carbs after 3
3?
Or so, yeah, after lunch, basically, after 3. And that helped a little bit. But now I'm just trying to limit carbs just more and more as go along.
Yeah.
That's still hard.
Yeah. I'm going to start with sugar, I think. Minimize that, and then maybe look at minimizing. Because, I don't eat, other than my late night snacking, it's not like I'm eating candy and shit most of the time, or the weakness is chips. Maybe I could offset the chips with. See, for a while, I was even making my own chips. It's a lot of work, though.
Yeah, that's.
I got my what is it called? A mandolin. Mandolin? I think
that's a musical instrument.
Mandola? No, it's not a mandola. A mandola or a mandolin. It's that fucking slicer.
Right.
It's a single blade there. I think they're outlawed. And you can fuck yourself up real quick. They just fucking slice it up. I was doing carrots, and one night I'd do a sweet potato. One night it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you got to really watch it, so you don't want to deep fry, so you're baking them, and those fuckers cook fast. You turn your back for a second.
What kind of grease were you using for the deep fryer? Healthy? Was it healthy deep frying, or?
I usually just...
Or does that change the
whole...
whole...
No, I was baking them most of the time. Just frying them is a pain in the ass.
Right. I baked some sweet potato chips for a while there. I was cutting up, but I didn't cut it up I had to just slice them normally. And they're like some of them were soft and some of them were burnt. And all fucking
different fucking widths and crooked.
Yeah.
They all have to be the exact same.
Yeah.
Hence
the tool.
Hence the tool.
So what do you think about all this 9/11 stuff yesterday? It seems like we've reached a year where it's sort of peaked a little bit more than like the last couple of years. I don't know. We really got into it, but maybe it's because we were thinking about doing a full show a few months back. We're going to do a few episodes actually because you had gone down a bit of the rabbit hole with the dustification and the Judy Wood video. And
I think it's just because it's starting to have been long enough.
Is that what you think?
I think that plays a role on the events, these high trauma events, you know. The farther you get away from them, the more you can kind of start to pick them apart publicly. I mean, I started the day with 9/11 was an inside job.
Yesterday?
Was my first tweet on 9/11. And fucking 10 years, it went good for the most part. It went good. I think one or two people were a little offended.
Right.
But, or not even, no one was pissed off. Actually, the one person ended up sending a bunch of links, and he said he'd take a look, but he would be pretty skeptical. So there was no like real fighting, no like real backlash. Whereas 10 years ago, I wouldn't have considered sending a tweet like that.
Right. Yeah.
10 years ago, I don't even know how I felt on the matter.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. That it seems like in the last 10 years, a lot has opened up. You can talk about a lot more than we could have.
Fucking old Dave McGowan wrote about it the very next day.
Yeah. Huh. So you were also into the Corbett report stuff for that, I guess?
Yeah, I think he's really one of the best. I still like the old Zeitgeist. The second half or the second part of the first Zeitgeist has a lot of pretty good stuff. But Corbett has it all. James Corbett, CorbettReport.com has this. You can he's got a post up right now that'll kind of take you start to finish from it. He's still actively, you know, uncovering and working on it.
And the thing is, he's not really a conspiracy theorist. Like he's
a fact.
He
comes off as a conspiracy theorist because there's giant conspiracies going on all around us. That's the problem.
What do you mean by that?
Well, fucking, it's a conspiracy. Like it or not, it's a conspiracy.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, it's a deep one. It's a deep one. I'd still just like to see all the points bulleted somewhere. Just everything, one after another. I mean, this probably is somewhere online, but it's even the No Agenda guys were talking about it. You know, you mentioned that you could say that and only 2 negative tweets came back. Like they did I think they did a donation segment for the show where it was like, if you donate this much, you think 9/11 was the mainstream story, was what really happened, and then if you donate this much, it's you don't believe the mainstream story. And I think it was 2 to
26 or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So I mean, granted, like a lot of the listeners from No Agenda would already be past that point, that the mainstream
the poll
narrative,
would be slanted.
but still, it shows you how it's shifted.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear back from the audience. How many who if you believe if you think the official narrative is the way to go, or how far down the rabbit hole? Send us your opinions on 9/11.
Do you have a couple?
And I'd also like to hear if the audience thinks it's kind of a beaten horse. Because, I mean, I'm still actively interested in watching. Like, especially the last few days I've been marathoning, but actively, I'm always, if I see something new 9/11, I'm probably going to watch it.
But you haven't always been like that, though. I mean,
no, I've only been into it for the last couple of years. Last year, probably.
It was even 6 months, I'd even like to say.
Nah, it's a year, I think. Anyway, let us know if that's something you think is worth doing outside, because we think sometimes it's kind of too old to bother talking about.
Yeah, it was almost one of on the boycott list, like Roswell, 9/11, some of the bigger ones that you just get sick of talking about. But
now I'm all in. Like I tweeted out the other day that I need a new rabbit hole to go down.
Oh, that was you that tweeted that?
Yeah, but you have to assume that I already think that the Earth is round and growing, possibly electric, and I forget the last one.
And we're all connected?
No.
So
Son of a bitch.
there was another good one on that.
Yeah.
Was it a
the
multiple
whole,
tweets?
the
You
whole,
didn't fit
no,
that
it
all
was
into
one.
one
It was
tweet,
one,
eh?
and the whole point of me mentioning it was the last one.
Oh,
Because it played off something you just said.
disclosures happening? No, it
No.
wasn't about that.
No. Where is it?
Inner Earth? UFOs are real?
No.
Sasquatch needs to be shot?
No.
I'm running out of them here. We're in a digital reality?
No.
Close? No? Everything's vibration? We are all vibration? Everything is vibration? No?
No, that's not it. Keep going, though.
Sound healing resonates with your organs and heals you? Sound waves?
Oh, and
frequencies?
9/11 was an inside job.
Oh.
Fucking idiots. The whole
We
point of
assumed
the
that was the
story.
first part of it. I assumed that was
So
the
the
first
tweet
part
was,
of it.
D1 needs a new rabbit hole to explore. Any suggestions? Assuming he's decided the earth is round and growing and 9/11 was an inside job.
There was no possibly electric in there?
No. And the suggestions are, how about that the moon is placed here to watch over Earth and influence what happens on the human zoo?
I like that.
Darwinism. Cara St. Louis in the alternative timeline. And then someone else says 9/11 was planned. Building 7 was imploded as a separate plan. Unknown reasons are planned for Building 7. Likely also terrorists. Hashtag am I right? I don't really get that one. Anyway.
So what would be, do you have a couple favorite things that point you, like if you were somebody new was exploring, you know,
Check out the Corbett report.
what about your own, like Building 7 or the Pentagon or like is there anything that just stands out for you?
It's
All of the above, kind of?
all of the above.
There's so many. We
you
were
need the
actually talking about it
compilation, 'cause
before the
any-
show and we were just
yeah.
laughing because it's...
Any one of them on their own might not be enough. But there are some that on their own could be enough.
Yeah.
Like the fucking obvious, seemingly controlled demolition and the fact that fucking planes, the chance of a building pancaking like that are a fucking 1,000,000 to 1. That all those things are going to fail together all the way down.
On which Building 7 or the other two?
The other two.
Yeah.
If it was fucking pancaking at some point, it should have toppled over to one side.
And where's the rubble, really? And where's all the toilets and the filing cabinets and...
Yeah, there's a lot of things wrong with all of it. But if you just like, I mean, that Corbett report video, the one, if you just Google 9/11 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah. And it's like 4.5 minutes. And it's just like, and he doesn't even touch on,
All the main
there's 20 or 30
stuff.
things that he leaves out. He just kind of
Yeah.
rifles off in 5 minutes and you're just kind of left with your jaw on the floor.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's a good one too. If you want to show people, if you want to try and like coax people, you know, that are maybe on the fence or giving you some resistance that you don't think will sit through. This is a video that you could show them on your phone in a couple of minutes that will fucking is hard to dispute.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to Jim Mars getting into the more sort of crazy conspiratorial
Yeah, there's
aspect,
parts of it you got to tiptoe into.
And he was interesting because he mentions how it could be all of the above. Like right away is like all of the above. Like part, you know, different levels of it, kind of like what Joseph Farrell said, but when you look at the actual physical act, could be multiple layers and multiple technologies and multiple things used, you know?
Yeah,
He was talking about some of these top secret labs like Brookhaven Labs, you know, making directed energy weapons and stuff. And I'd like to dig into that a little bit more, these labs.
Those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So, what do you got for me?
Well, I've been thinking how awesome one of the best things about doing this podcast and what's the most sort of rewarding is meeting like listeners and like-minded people and building sort of a little community. Like I've got friends here now in the city and meeting people online. And like, there's so many fucking cool, smart people that are just, yeah, it's just fun getting in touch with.
And willing to help too.
And willing to help.
Quite
Yeah,
a little
for sure.
network going of help that we don't pay for because we can't afford to.
Yeah.
And we'd love to pay for our help.
Yeah, definitely the support's another end of it. But I mean, just connecting with people has been great. I mean, and that's not even including all the guests. I mean, even that's, you know, and some of the guests becoming friends and all it is cool too. But so, but
And
getting
meetups,
cool
we still haven't
emails.
heard back from a meetup. I'd like to hear someplace for some I guess we'd have to kind of orchestrate that.
Yeah, we're talking
So
about
maybe
a
if you-
meetup in Calgary or something.
Yeah, or even anywhere. If someone's someplace else like that, I think the UK people could really do it.
The UK posse,
Other,
maybe.
yeah, and other than that, in Canada, well, in Canada it might be okay, but in the States, I think, you know, I can tell you if you're interested in doing a meetup, you could email me and I could tell you, give you an approximation of how many
Listeners are
listeners
in
are
that
in
area.
your neighborhood.
From the matrix that we can tell,
Yeah,
which
from the-
is only a small portion
From
of it.
the initial matrix.
Yeah. So I do have a pretty cool email here. It's a synchronicity and other stuff from, you get a lot of emails from listeners and some of them are great. I play a jingle.
Synchronicity, it's time for another installment of the Canadian Third Party Synchronicity Rating Authority.
That's a problem.
Oh, boy.
People have a fucking problem doing that. Drawing dicks. There's more than one person I've heard now that just draws dicks.
Kim.
I've heard this with other people.
Oh yeah, it's just a
One
male.
of Joe Rogan's guys was drawing
Yeah,
dicks.
there's
all
one
the
in
time.
every group.
What the
There's fucking dick drawers all over the
where
place.
does that come from?
I don't know. The dicks are funny.
Why are you drawing it? We have a
Because I do it because I was doing something else until I seen you were watching.
we have a table. We have a table with what do you call this? Whiteboard sticky thing on it, so we can just doodle on the table. Anyways, this is the email. Greetings. He says synchronicity a little later. I've been listening since about April, managing to come across your podcast on Spotify. Actually, let's just take a tangent here. It is cool to hear how people found us as well. Like sometimes people find us on iTunes or Spotify or through other people or just random searches. So it is kind of nice to, when you're getting in touch with us, to tell us how you found us. And he says, one day by randomly searching esoteric in the search bars, I had listened to all of my Manly P. Hall recordings I had on my phone at that time. If you know of any experts on him and his work, it would be amazing if you could get that person on the show. I have to catch up on the newest episode, but other than that, I've made it to the back episode 148, and there's no stopping in sight. The first episode I listened to was with Jamie Janover, and it blew my mind. Being a musician, an esoteric researcher, I've never heard someone talk about all these ideas associated with sound, frequency, physics, and music that I hold within my own mind, though wouldn't be able to explain it adequately on my own before. There's so much information held within the Grimerica show, and I thank all involved. You and Darren are the ferrymen, not to be confused with the ferrymen, guiding the knowledge to the masses, and the work you both do is so important and vital to the path of humankind. I've been on a constant search for knowledge, understanding, and purpose since my mother passed away in 2007 when I was 16. Before then, and since that time, I've also lost my father, all 4 grandparents, and a sister. My father being the most recent in 2013. There are several things that have greatly helped me keep my positive attitude. My wife, Nikki, who I married in 2014, my daughter, Sophia, born later that same year, playing and cresting music, the teachings of Manly P. Hall, and now I can definitely say the Grimerica show. So once again, thank you both for all you do. Now, onto the synchronicity. The first part is only a slight synchronicity, if that, but I'll throw it in there. I'm a rideshare driver with Uber and Lyft working in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. I had a trip that had me almost 90 miles from home, and I needed to refuel the van. While refueling, I decided I'd check Facebook, and one of my friends had asked me if anyone wanted to go on an adventure, and the location he posted it was about 2 miles from where I was. He lives close to me, so this was quite a distance away for him to be. I messaged him to see if his car had broken down on him or something, as if he has that kind of luck. And if that was the case, I was going to give him a ride home. The adventure he had spoken of was actually shrooms. And he was already on his way. Home. I opted to join this adventure when I returned about an hour-ish later. I made there. See, it's already, I'm losing it already here. Okay, so he says, so he made it there about an hour later. I ate a few of them and a few minutes later glanced at my Facebook while my friend was doing something else. I opened the app and immediately got excited knowing this was the right choice. Right there before me, I see a post from the Grimerica show, which hardly ever shows up in my news feed, posted literally seconds before I opened the app that was titled, How to Grow Your Own Magic Mushrooms. It's easier than you thought. So it may not be the best synchro, but it was certainly powerful to me. Well, I apologize for the epic length of this email, but after listening to your podcast, it seems almost like you guys are a couple of old friends, and I'm sure many people feel the same, and it's just very easy to ramble on. Thank you again. Have a most glorious day. Oh, and then he says he's got some wedding photos with a female spirit or a ghost clear as day on one of the windows, and he wants to send it. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
That's rather humbling.
Yes, very humbling. Thank you for the feedback as well.
And we think you're our buddy too. And I'm going to give you an 8.42.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah.
See,
Well,
he thought it was a slight. See, he's worried about your rating already. He's like, I've got a slight one for you here.
It's good. It's good to be pessimistic. Don't come in. Oh, I got the best synchro ever, because I'm automatically I'm defensive.
You better work on that, buddy. There's no reason why you need to be like that.
I feel like I'm a bit of a defender of reality.
Oh my god!
Among some of these.
You just go for the underdog that think he's just got a little bit of it going on.
Well, he buttered me up first.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. Yeah, so say a couple compliments too before your synchro.
Donations or compliments.
So what do you want now? I got the UFO quote.
What else you got? That's it. That's my only option.
Well, we were chit-chatting for quite a bit already amongst ourselves. I got a double here.
Graham is an all-in believer in chemtrails.
Oops.
I got a couple, I don't know, they're sort of related to this political climate right now.
Okay.
I strongly recommend that there be a committee investigation of the UFO phenomena. I think we owe it to the people to establish credibility regarding UFOs and to produce the greatest possible enlightenment on this subject. Who said that? President
Joe Rogan.
Gerald Ford. 1966. No, Joe doesn't agree with that at all.
That's number one. Seems sad by that. Seems sad.
Number two. I looked out the window and saw this little white light. It was zigzagging around. I went up to the pilot and said, "Have you ever seen anything like that?" He was shocked and said, "Nope." I said to him, "Let's follow it." We followed it for several minutes. It was a bright white light. We followed it to Bakersfield, and all of a sudden, to our utter amazement, it went straight up into the heavens. When I got off the plane, I told Nancy all about it.
She don't know me. She don't like me.
That was
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, yeah. Describing his 1974 UFO encounter to veteran newsman Norman C. Miller, then the Washington bureau chief for the Wall Street Journal.
It was probably the Secret Service tale. Secret Service.
That's a good one. That's our table right here. It's a Secret Service.
There's probably the Secret Service tail in them. Got too close. The Secret Service. So.
Yeah, the Secret Space Program Service.
Sure. So of course, support the show.
Yeah, for all the local people in Calgary, I've got a few t-shirts left. A few of the traditional style and a few of the take the shot, and then I won't be ordering any more after that.
Yeah, so get a hold of Graham. And
well, because they're going to go to...
Yeah, for non-local people, just go to grimerica.ca/swag. That'll redirect you to our Redbubble store, which already has Take the Shot, Save Sasquatch, a bunch of classic, and you can get hoodies, t-shirts, basically all the stuff we would have never been able to stock. So if we go with Redbubble, the sky seems to be the limit. So we can't get toques.
Is it pretty easy to upload the art too?
It's a little bit of a process, but it's not too bad.
They can't get toques?
No, they don't have toques.
You got everything but toques.
Yeah. You can get
a pillowcase.
You can get a mini skirt.
What?
A mini skirt.
The Grimerica mini scared.
Yeah. No, I'm mostly disabled because I have to go through and set it for each thing, and it takes a bit of process. So I do certain things, and t-shirts, cups.
So did you say episode art was going up there?
Eventually
Episode art?
I'm starting to go through the episode art. It'll be without the name or without the stamp. It'll just be the episode art. So I'll start going through the ones I want to upload and upload them.
Yeah, I put that in all that on Instagram too.
Yeah, so if you want your swag, that's the place to go. I think it works out to about like $28 or something like that. Delivered.
Hashtag guests on deck and Instagram gets you to the upcoming guests. What? I'm trying, do what people ask and they want to know who's coming up. So
there you go.
Put them out on Instagram there.
We should have something on the website again. Eventually.
Well, the website needs some work, so.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah.
Anyway, check out grimerica.ca/support. A couple new subscribers. That's always good to see. Could always use more to help us keep growing and keep going, and do so ad-free, sponsor-free, bullshit-free, uninterrupted chats. So check out grimerica.ca/support. There's anything from $1 a month to $30 a month. $1 a show is all we ask. $5 a month is our most popular. But hey, get in at $1 a month, entry level, and you can work your way up. If you do donate up to $432, you earn the right to join us for an interview if you so choose. And that's about it for support. Of course, you can support the show by telling people, spam and gram your stories and shit. What else?
Voicemail?
That speak by
P.O. Box?
Speak, yeah.
All the links to all this stuff are going to be in the show notes.
That's right.
So you don't need to remember anything.
Speakpipe.com/Grimerica. Sign up for the newsletter, grimerica.ca/news. Yeah, check out the show notes and do all the shit in there. Review the show, all that stuff. Mostly tell your friends.
We got that email from that guy that signed a bunch of his friends up to the newsletter. I don't think I saw the increase.
Me either. I think he's bluffing.
It didn't work. He's bluffing. Yeah.
Or he's done
He's
something
bluffing,
wrong.
or it just didn't work.
Or he's about as good with technology as you are.
Oh, come on, buddy. That is not fair at all.
That is fucking accurate.
It's not fair at all. Like I'm doing my own Instagram. I'm doing all my own apps.
I'm doing my own Instagram.
The show notes. I do the show notes.
Do their own Instagram.
What do you want from me?
Nothing.
I don't get it.
Nothing. Just don't defend the undefendable. You're learning. I'll give you that.
Oh my God.
You're learning. It's great. You're doing
I'm a
great.
faster typer than you.
You're doing great. You'll be a great receptionist one day. Where'd you learn how to type?
In grade 9.
On what?
A Mac, probably.
Not a typewriter?
That too. We had Macs in school in 1984 or whenever.
They were called Macintoshes
back
then.
Yeah. Right.
I think I learned how to type on a computer too.
But I truly think it was a typewriter though. Or what do they call them? Word processor. It wasn't like an actual typewriter, but
it was like an electric typewriter. Yeah.
Probably.
A space. B space. Those are the good old days.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's enough of our shit, probably.
Yeah.
Enjoy the chat with Rhys Thomas, and find out what were you? I was a.
Oh, now you're asking me to remember this stuff?
I was a charismatic leader, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. I don't have it in the show notes there.
I think you were.
That was a bit of everything.
You're like. Dumbfounded something or other.
No, I wasn't.
No, it's like amazed.
Creative. No. Don't even say anything else.
Okay, guys. Enjoy the chat with Rhys.
All right, tonight we got Rhys Thomas here. He's a interesting author, energy medicine expert, and he's got this book here that Darren and I both read and actually did some exercises in called Discover Your Purpose. He's also been a coach, a tennis coach, a black belt, lots of interesting stuff to talk about. And he's also founder of Rhys Thomas Institute of Energy Medicine, and he's created this Rhys method. It's a powerful system of self-discovery, transformation, and healing. So it's interesting. We're going to get into some depth. It's not like your normal self-help stuff. We're going to get to the soul level, hopefully.
In the spirit of full disclosure, I only read chapter 3.
Okay. Thanks, Darren. So how you doing tonight, Rhys?
I'm doing great. Well, chapter 3 is a good chapter, so I think any chapter you read in there is a good one for you.
Yeah, I usually take. I'm more the man on the street, and Graham's the hard-nosed researcher.
Nice.
So is that how I pronounce your name, Rhys?
Rhys. Yep.
Okay, good. So yeah, I was thinking that it'd be worth getting into the background a little bit, because you have kind of an overachieving style past, and yet that really didn't bring you the depth of happiness that you're looking for, right? Or contentment. So I was thinking we should start with maybe some of your past there and get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I, sort of learned growing up that, that guys are supposed to be achievers or leaders and out there and doing things. And I was a high energy kid, so that wasn't that hard to make that leap into trying to be a competitive athlete. Of course, I picked tennis rather than other sports. And later, when I thought I was really a man, I did 25 years of martial arts and tried to make sort of make my mark. And I started coaching and teaching early in my teens while I was competing in tennis. Played some pro tennis. Just really felt like I was supposed to be somebody, and it's like we all go through this phase in our lives, especially in our 20s, where it's like, okay, I got to become somebody. I can't just be just some kid who's got a job. I got to be somebody. I got to make my mark in the world. And of course, I'm listening through my 20s to Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and these guys who are all sort of very spiritual, but at the same time, I'm listening to Tony Robbins and Dennis Waitley and saying, you got to be a successful, entrepreneur. And so I sort of, made the choice in my life, as a lot of us do, to be a certain type of person that I thought was going to make the most money, be the happiest. I got married in my 20s, had children, and got very high level jobs in the tennis industry. I had one of the top jobs in Boston. I was speaking for the tennis industry. I was running my own summer camps. I was also studying martial arts and doing a ton of things. I also had developed a product. I started a corporation that was making a product that teaches you how to be more coordinated on balance. And so I had all these things that I was doing, but I wasn't doing any of them exceptionally well, except for the teaching part. And the teaching part was sort of like my mastery, and trying to be a tough guy really didn't work out that well, because I was sparring against guys like Joe Rogan. He went through the school where I was when I was going through that, and these people that were born fighters, and I didn't really get till later on that I kept trying to be a businessman, trying to be a successful, driven, focused, organized businessman and a martial artist and all these things. Trying to be those people was actually draining me, tiring me out. I was actually getting pretty good at doing them, but they never really worked. And I wasn't really, I felt like I got into my 30s and I felt like, oh my God, I don't think people really understand me at work. I was certainly felt misunderstood in my marriage and with my children, and I was just, I really felt like there was something really big missing, even though I was successful at every marker. I was making good money. I had a house in the suburbs. I was, all the types of things that you'd say, that's a successful person. He's doing very well in the world. But I started feeling really empty. And that was when I had physical illness. I had, I was saying I was having problems at work, feeling like I wasn't in the right job somehow, even though I was really, really good at what I did. And I was really good at teaching. I was really pretty bad at the administrative part, and I was a big administrator. I ran all sorts of businesses and things, and I was terrible with numbers and budgets and things like that. I could never figure out why I was so bad at those things. And then in my late 30s, I finally sort of said, well, none of what I'm doing is working, and I found this energy medicine school that was not that far from me. I went and signed up for school thinking, hey, I'm a black belt in the martial arts. How hard can energy work be? And literally within the first or second class, I realized that I had no idea who I was. And I was so sure I knew who I was because I had studied all the great thinkers and all the great, I'd done all the Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyers and quantum physics, and I knew everything, and I was so sure that I knew who I was, and I realized that I wasn't that guy.
What were those first two visits like? Like, what did you do there that sort of triggered that?
Well, I went to the first day I went to class. I went and I sat down, and everybody stands up and says who they are, what they do, and everybody's a doctor or a massage therapist or a physical therapy person or a psychologist or all these people that are wanted to study energy medicine, add to their practice. And I stand up and say, I'm just a tennis pro. I'm a guy, who does some martial arts and some tennis. And thinking, well, what could go wrong? Well, there was an open seat next to me, and the teacher came over and sat next to me, and she put her arm around me and looked up at the ceiling. And I'm like, what is she doing? And she looked up at the ceiling and she goes, Rhys, are you going to come in and join us?
Wow.
and I was, blink. I was like, what's she even talking about? And what she was talking about was that I had never actually inhabited my body, my life, and my life purpose. And I had been playing someone else's game my whole life. And when I realized that and started studying that and feeling what it was like to actually be me, I realized that I was more of this, enthusiastic, highly creative person who wanted to do all those things, but didn't really need to be super successful at any of them. I just enjoyed doing all those things. I enjoyed the creative aspect of it. And when I realized that that's the person I was, I realized that the reason that I felt misunderstood and felt like I wasn't being a good parent and, was misunderstood in my relationships and my work and everything was that I had been lying to everybody. And when you lie to people about who you are and then they feed that back to you and it doesn't sound so good coming out of their mouth, it sounded really good coming out of my mouth, but it sounded really bad coming out of their mouth. And I'm like, no, you don't understand me at all. And when I realized that, and I started going back and working with my coaching, with my players, my competitive players, as well as the people at the country club, and then I started doing workshops with crystal bowls and energy medicine. And I was doing that, and I started realizing that I didn't know anybody. Maybe I say, I really there were two people I'd met through my work that I felt like really knew who they were and didn't need help. Everybody else, I'd never met a person that fully knew who they were. Everybody knows a little piece of who they are. They've got like an idea, I wasn't wrong that I was a teacher. I wasn't wrong that I liked doing all these things and being creative in the world, but I was dead wrong about whether I was a real achiever or not. Because when you really find a person who we call the knowledgeable achiever, when you really find that quality in a person, they are incredibly structured and organized, and my brain just doesn't work that way. So I wasn't able to pull off that quality. And so one of the things that I found very quickly when I got into the program was that there were 5 ways that Alexander Lowen work was what we studied in the energy school, where we were trying to, just working on how people go into these illnesses. And there are 5 ways people go crazy or go into illness and what they call defense. And what I found from those, which were, people going what they called out of their body, schizoid, or they were overwhelmed by life, or they were masochistic in their tendencies, giving themselves over all the time, or they were incredibly rigid and controlling, or they were aggressive and manipulative. And I looked at that and I said, well, God, nobody wants to be any of those things. But underlying that, what we found was these weren't just elements that you are. These weren't things that, like, they weren't nurture. These were nature. These were, and I think that this is where I differ from a lot of the thinkers on this, and Alexander Lowen himself, that these aren't things that you happen in your life that traumas cause these. This is your curriculum to life. This is your soul's curriculum. And those just happen to be the way each of us in those 5 different qualities go into our negative traits. But the highest traits are what I would call the creative idealists, these super creative people, the deep lovers and feelers, which are these, deeply caring, nurturing, gentle people in the world, and then what we call the team player, the compassionate caretakers in the world, and then the achievers that I thought I was going to be, and often in business, if you aren't an achiever, you don't succeed as well, and those people are excellent at organization and structure and running big groups and managing things and starting businesses and working them through, and all the T's crossed and I's dotted. And then lastly, there are the leaders, and there are people that are just born to be charismatic and motivate other people, inspire other people. And these 5 kinds of people are really very different cats. They're very different kinds of individuals. They have different body types. They have different energy. They think differently. And I learned, as I was learning the system, I was realizing, oh my God, people don't know who they are. They pick one of those because it's what their parents want them to be, or they were born a man or a woman. And basically we're taught the biggest difference between people is some are men and some are women, right? So, and that's the biggest difference. And the truth is, energetically and spiritually, that only counts at the first chakra.
Yeah. So those are your 5 profiles, right, out of your book. That's what you put into your book, Discover Your Purpose. And there's exercises in there as well to figure out. Actually, Darren and I did these exercises, so we'll talk about that in a bit. But those are the ones, this is how to figure out which of those 5 profiles you fit into, or multiple ones. But your profiles are different than the traditional Lowen style one, right? Like, you switched it around to be more of a positive thing, didn't you? Or how did you do that?
I did. I changed. Yes, Lowen has a healing system to take people from crisis to coping, and I never liked that. I was never a therapist at heart. I don't have that archetype. And I found that I really wanted to take people from coping and say, well, how do you go to flying? How do you go to amazing? And to go to amazing, you have to contact this part of you that's always been amazing and always been powerful. So yeah, and so yes, I improved on what they did and made it sort of like made people understand that this is about, not labeling yourself so you can deal with life better. It's about discovering your greatness in you, discovering what's amazing in you, and know that within that amazingness is some stuff that might be called bad or aggressive or whatever. We are basically animals. Inside, we have this lower self that's very powerful, but we have this higher purpose that our body and our psyche and our energy and where we're born and who we're born to all is part of the spiritual mission. And where I differ from the other profiling systems like Myers-Briggs or DISC or Enneagram, which are also very popular, and Myers-Briggs especially in the business world, is that those are strictly behavioral. And when you're dealing with something that's just behavior-based, that means anybody can have it. And that goes against one of the major tenets that I teach in the energy medicine school is that, one of the worst things we've ever been taught is that we can become anything we want to become. The truth is that you can only become one thing, and if your parents really were enlightened beings, they would have said to you, right as a little tiny child said, God, we have no idea what you are. We don't even know what sex you are. You have to choose everything for yourself, and we will investigate all of these things throughout your life, and we will hunt them down, and we will use your feelings and your sensations and the way you think and the way you do things to decide what religion you are, what your deepest callings are. And if they did that throughout your life, and you were allowed to discover who you were rather than be told that you're a boy and boys act like this, and this is what we do in this family and this is how we do things, we would probably have enlightened masters by the time people are 30 or 40 years old. We'd have the Christs of the world. But instead, what happens is that our parents don't teach us that at all, because they're at that point in their life where they have no idea who they are, and they are trying so hard to be somebody, and they deliver that message to you, is that it's not okay to be who you really are, because a child sees who the parent really is and sees the fake person they're presenting, the mask they're presenting, and then realizes, oh my God, this is a crazy game. I better just get on board, because everybody's crazy on this planet. And it isn't until we're in our 30s or 40s when we realize that's never working. So for me, I chose that sort of like, okay, I'm a boy. Boys wear blue, and they are achievers, and they become good athletes, and they work hard at things, and they put their nose to the grindstone. And it wasn't until I was almost 40 years old that I realized, wow, this isn't working. No matter how good you get at it, it still feels horrible when you're not being who you really are.
I was like 38. So you find that it was, so you were almost 40 then when you
Yep.
shifted?
Yep.
So,
I went to energy medicine school when I was 38 years old.
Oh, wow. Wow, yeah. I want to talk a bit about that, because I have a selfish reason why, but the crystal singing bowl part of your book really struck a chord with me. So could you get into a little bit of that? Because I have a little story that I want to say afterwards as well.
Sure.
I am.
What? Sorry?
Darren's asking if he should play the bowl. No, don't play the bowl now.
Okay.
You can play the bowl. I usually have a bowl nearby. I don't actually have one on me here. When I first started doing this work, I realized that you can't ever know who you are through thinking. It was the most impossible thing for me, because I was such a thinker. I figured everything out in my mind, and was like, okay, I got this and I got that. And then I went to energy medicine school, and everything was about healing work and feeling and meditation and chanting, and getting your body to feel these deeper levels of consciousness and feel perceive the chakras and their colors and their vibrations and everything through your body. And I would be in class, and I'd say, okay, so what you're saying is that when this chakra does this and this does that, and then this life purpose energy comes through it, that means this. And the teacher would come over, and she would tap me on the forehead. She had really long fingernails, and she would tap me on the forehead, and she'd say, "You can't figure it out from there." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And then one birthday I was given, or Christmas, I think it was, a friend of mine gave me 2 crystal bowls. And I'd been studying really hard how to hold the different chakra levels, because in full spectrum healing, which we teach, it's not like a technique thing where you just learn a technique and a visualization, and that's what makes your healing work. You have to literally be able to hold the vibration of each of the chakras purely in your energy field if you're going to be able to inspire the person on the table to actually open theirs up as well. So I had to learn how to hold them, and I was always trying to hold them in class, and the teacher, and I'd say, okay, I'm definitely orange, I'm holding orange right now, and she'd come over and go, nope, you're yellow. And I'm like, shit. And then I would say, okay, no, now I'm green. She'd come over and go, nope, you're yellow. Because anytime you're using your will to do something, your energy field turns yellow. But then over time, I actually learned how to hold the different energy fields. I could feel the vibration. So I was given these crystal bowls, and the very first time the person said, listen to this, I was like, what are these hokey things? I was thinking, God, this is just one more gimmicky thing that you buy at a New Age bookstore. And they played them. And they played this bowl, and I immediately went into this feeling like, oh my God, that's exactly what it feels like I can feel it through my whole body. Every cell in my body was feeling the second chakra. I was like, that's so cool. That bowl made me feel the exact same way I do when I feel the second chakra.
Yeah.
And then they had another one, which was which turned out to be the sixth chakra. And I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling that. My head is just like expanding. And it's like, and I felt both things. And then they said, well, what are they? And they said, well, this one's a D and this one's an A. And I was like, oh, a D and an A, one of those things. And then I did some studying on them and I realized that the D is the second chakra and the A is the sixth chakra. And
there's six chakras?
I just woke up to this realization that, wow, I can train myself through crystal bowls to manage my energy field and have more muscle memory for these chakras. So I bought a huge set of bowls, and over time I had over 45 bowls, and I would take those things around and play them, not only for my own fun, but also I'd have big groups of people, 20, 30, 40 people would come, and I would do readings afterward about what they felt in their chakras, and then I started realizing that when each person was describing their chakras, they were teaching me what a chakra was. Not based on what the books are, but what really a chakra was. And simultaneously, I noticed that they were telling me about what we called back then character structure. This quality. They were either a creative person or a feeling person or a caretaking person or an achieving person or a leadership person. And when they spoke their chakras, I was like, oh my God, they're talking about their chakra, but what they're really sharing is that this is how that chakra works for this life purpose. And so I spent many, many years going around. I still go around and do crystal ball workshops. And every time I do, I read people and I let them tell me their story. And every time they tell me their story, I learn more about the energy field. And that's my crystal ball story. I love the bowls. I use them a lot. I train the healers in the school with the bowls. They listen to them while they're doing the healing, and the bowls help them hold the energy fields, and they accelerate their ability to manage their energy field, 10x.
Yeah.
Does it have to be a bowl? Can you achieve the same thing with a guitar or piano? Or?
No, bowl. It has to be bowl because guitars are metal. Each instrument sends out the vibration of what it's made of.
Didgeridoos could do it, I think.
If you got a crystal one, maybe. But the issue is that the human body is made out of crystal, right? Water is a liquid crystal. Our energy field is a crystalline. Our energy field is 12 notes in there's 12 notes in an octave. We have 7 chakras and 5 spiritual centers. They're all the vibration of the crystalline nature, because our body is made out of crystal. The bones are made out of crystal. Everything in our body, I've heard that there's like 0.1% or something of our body is actually some metal in our brain. It's in our head somewhere. We created some sort of metal. But basically, everything in our body is made out of crystal. And so we are like a crystal tuning fork. And when vibrations come through us, the ones that actually wake us up to this reality are crystalline in structure.
Yeah, I've got an amazing example of that. So I've also been through a few sound baths, and I've got a bowl, one crystal bowl that I just bought, and I've got a couple metal ones as well. Yep. But I was also had the chakra thing as well in the sound and breath workshop, but that was also through different instruments like flutes and didgeridoos and all this kind of stuff. But yep. With this crystal bowl, like I've always been interested in them, fascinated by them, and I feel a relaxation state, like it really affects me physically as well. But I've never thought of them as an immediate healing tool, just as a sort of a preventative thing, or like, expanding consciousness or meditation, that type of thing. But my girlfriend has difficulty with a bunch of physical things. And the other day she was having really bad stomach cramps again, and it stays for quite a while, and it gets really bad. So I was doing a little bit of Reiki, and I grabbed the crystal bowl, and I just thought, I'm going to play this a couple times. So I did a little couple gongs, and then I played it up and down twice, and it immediately got better. She was better like instantly. And we were both just blown away. We're like, wow, that was like instantaneous healing. And I had the sense that it got down into the cellular level, like those vibrations kind of reset everything or something. And then later on that night, she had a bit of a breath problem and a panic, almost like a panic attack. And I was seriously considering taking her to the hospital. And I thought, I'm just going to try this same thing again, this Reiki in the bowl. And again, instantly like better. Unbelievable.
Yep. Yeah. Bowls are their purpose, because they've got one purpose, is to make that sound. And that sound is a higher vibration of whatever chakra it happens to be.
Right.
And what bowl do you have?
Well, it was the stomach one. So it would have been the solar plexus. The yellow would have been
third chakra. Okay, so it would be an E.
Yeah.
They have an E bowl, and which is also the sense of self, and self-esteem.
Wow.
And usually when you got a stomach ache, it's because you're having a problem with your self-esteem.
Interesting.
Right? So that bowl is doing a lot more, and so then the next level is, when you work with her, is play the bowl, and then not only let her describe how, what's happening, but where is she feeling it in her body?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you'll play the third chakra bowl and you'll experience it as something in your head. And you won't feel it in the third chakra. You'll feel it in your head or in your feet or someplace else. And often, if you're having an issue in that chakra, in that energy center, it's because you're managing that energy center from a different place of your energy field. So if you're doing a lot of thinking about who you are, you might get a headache when the third chakra bowl plays, and you realize, oh crap, yeah, I am overthinking this whole situation right now. And it's making me feel bad about myself.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never thought about that.
So bowls, when you use bowls as a healing tool, what happens is you play the bowl and they tell you what's happening inside their body. They're actually healing themselves while they're doing it, and they don't know it. They think they're just telling you that they've had this funny itch thing or this strange color that went through them. But as you learn energy medicine and understand that every color means something, literally every joint, every muscle, every organ in the body carries and manages a different element of your life purpose and of your energy field, and how to come into balance. And when you feel something, some people are like, oh God, I'm really feeling this in my liver. And if you feel, it's like my liver started moving when that ball played. It's like okay. So where are you, not moving your emotions and especially your anger? Where are you really holding back on your anger when that liver is getting all angry like that? So each element, knees are changing direction in life, hips are moving forward in life, ankles are pleasure and, having more pleasure in life. Every chakra, of course, has its own purpose, and you may feel a bowl in any of the chakra system, and this is the difference between a healing technique and full spectrum healing. In full spectrum healing, there's no element of the energy field that the practitioner isn't well versed in, and so when if you're doing an energy healing, for instance, and you open up the first chakra, you have to be really aware. Well, what happened when you opened the first chakra? Did the second chakra close? Because once you're in your body, you're not allowed to have your emotions and your sexuality, or what happened? And when you get to the second chakra and you're working on that, and that opens up, did the first chakra close again? Are you able to recognize that the system is a system that only comes into balance when the purpose is when the person's purpose is held in this intention of the healer? And if the healer can't figure out a person's purpose, and they're just guessing at the person's purpose, like the person came in, or the person tells them, well, this is my purpose, I'm definitely this. If I had gone in and said, I'm an achiever, and I just need you to help me be a better achiever, the healing would never have stuck. It might have helped for a little while, but it wouldn't stick because the only thing that sticks in our lives is our deepest purpose. That's why I wrote the book, Discover Your Purpose, because without that rock to build your life on, none of the rest of it makes sense.
Well, let's get into that a little bit, because you talk to.
I wonder if that.
What's that, Darren?
I wonder if that's my bad shoulder. You should bring that bowl of yours over here.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Eh? Well, I got a bad shoulder too, but it's not quite as bad as yours, I guess. It's your left too, right?
It's my left, yeah.
And we both have a bad left shoulder.
Which is, yeah.
Bad left shoulder.
I can't blame it on my childhood because I was right-handed.
Me too.
No, but you can blame it on your adulthood. So shoulders are almost always about carrying someone else's burdens.
I don't think Darren's doing that.
Not doing that. There's nobody that you're trying to protect or support or help, and trusting that you can do that. I mean, sometimes it's your own burdens,
I have a
but
family that I support.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And that anybody that you feel like you because the left shoulder is about trust, and the right side of the body is the masculine, the left side is the feminine. And the left side is about trust, and the right side is about belief system. So very simply, if you're dealing with a left shoulder injury or a chronic left shoulder issue, there may be a trust that I can't provide or protect or support or carry the weight of these people, my family, my this. And sometimes people get their shoulders blow out when all of a sudden their parents get sick and they don't think they can, do their work and take care of their parent. And, things happen that way. So when you're dealing with shoulders, often you're dealing with how do you loosen the burden up? And one of the exercises we do, a bioenergetics exercise, actually an Alexander Lowen exercise, is you stand up and you literally jab your elbows back. So you turn to your right and you jab your right elbow back, and you turn hard to your left and you jab your left elbow back at about shoulder level. So the shoulders are up. And each time you do it, you say, "Get off my back."
Get off my back.
And you do that over and over again. You realize, oh my God, I carry so many burdens on my back that aren't even real. They're just in my head. And the truth is that I can do the best I can do. But when I feel like I don't trust myself that I can do this, that energy builds up in that area, and then it causes pain. And pain is always just a lack in the energy field of your fullness, and that's what energy work is all about. Reiki and the energy work that we do, it's about releasing the blocks. The Life Purpose Profile System, the book that I wrote, is about how to make it permanent.
So let's get into that a bit, the details, because you talk about vows in there as well, which is really interesting because it made me think of them in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And how vows how vows can block your purpose, right?
Right. Well, when someone says you got a blocked chakra, it's a vow. It's like it's a vow that you made to always or never in that chakra. So chakra is just the chakra energy, an energy. The chakra is just a part of your life, right? So the first chakra is just anything solid in your life. Your where you are, your family, these people that you interact with, everything is around you right now. If you're the desk or your computer or your phone or whatever it is that you got around you, everything in your vicinity is part of your first chakra. How well you deal with that is based on how healthy your chakra is. If you're totally okay with everything in your environment all the time, the people in your environment, your family, which are very much sort of like the grounding force in your life. If you're all okay with that and it's great, you have a balanced chakra. But if you had trauma, let's say birth trauma, where it wasn't a safe world to come into, or you were, neglected or abused or whatever by your parents, or even just talked to sternly by your parents, you may have made a vow to, make you literally and very unconsciously when you're a child, because this is your sort of pre-verbal, often when these things happen, but you just you pull back from being fully present.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be conscious, right? Like it's not like you had to say this vow. It's just that you did some sort of subconscious vow. Right?
Yes, and what a vow ultimately is the energetics of pulling back from being whole in the present moment in any of the energy centers.
Huh.
And if you pulled back from, let's say the world was scary, let's say you came into the world and there was a lot of noise or people were screaming all the time and you were just like, and you were more of a gentle soul and you're just like, I got to get out of here. I can't be living in this world. And you pulled back. That was a vow to be invisible. Right? And you tried to be invisible as a child very unconsciously. Later on in life, as adults, we have to look back and say, oh, yeah, that vow is actually, I wanted to be invisible. I didn't even know I was, but that's the truth. The truth is that I vowed to always be invisible in the family. Or you add, more of the aggressive sort of like charismatic leader quality within you or a knowledgeable achiever, and you were just like, no, I don't back down. Even at 2 years old, you're like, I don't back down for anybody. I'm here. I deserve my place. I'm taking it, and that's that. And you vow to always get what you need in life. And then you're a battler. Then you're someone who pushes back when someone is loud. You say shut up, or and then you vow to always have it your way and be more controlling in the world. And that's the opposite wound. The truth is that sometimes we have to stand up for ourselves, and sometimes we should just disappear. And we have to be able to do both in a chakra. The same thing would apply in your second chakra, your feelings, your emotions, your sexuality. You learn very early as a child that walking around naked was not cool in most American cultures, or in most cultures, there's an issue with that. And so maybe little children can do it, but once you get to a certain age, absolutely not. And you vowed to never show, your sexuality, or you never showed your feelings, or maybe you were a deep feeler, or really passionate, or really you cried a lot. And your parents were just like, just stop crying. What's the matter with you? Why are you such a crybaby? And you're like, and internally, that rejection of this pure quality within you that liked to cry and had needed to cry, you literally make a vow to say, internally you pull away from having that and say, I don't need to do that. I will never cry again, or you go the other way where you say no, I'm going to make you listen to me, and you have to listen to me, and so then you go into this creates either an excessive need or a deficient need in a chakra, and when a healer goes through your chakras and tries to heal them, that's what they're healing. They're healing those wounds in the chakra. But keep in mind that what we're talking about here, it boils down to the purpose in this way. When we're growing up as a child, our first few years of life, most of the time we spent actually being who we are. We played, we were open, unless you had very severe circumstances as a child, up until at least 2 or 3, we're pretty much completely in our own world. We're not even, our eyes haven't even totally learned to focus fully on things. But we live in this state of me. I am just alive, and I'm this non-form that seems to love to be here and plays and cries and eats and sleeps, and it's just this like amazing journey. And then at some point in our life, our parents hook our attention and try to and begin to teach us their language. And in the language are all these emotional codes of how our family thinks and does things, and in our behavior. And you're a boy, and you have to wear these types of clothes, or you're a girl, and you have to wear pink, and you have to behave like this, and this is what we do. And at some point, over and over and over, we had to, in all these different dimensions of our lives, in our physical world, in our emotional world, and these are all the chakras, in our how we behave and act and share and show ourselves, in our relationships, how we go into relationship, how we speak, the words we speak, the language we speak, the religion we talk, and then the way our mind works and what we can see and what we can't see. We can see our parent is an alcoholic, but they say your father's not an alcoholic, and then all of a sudden you're like, shit, we've got to close that down, and then we go to to infinite possibility. Well, if nobody in the family believes in infinite possibility, if everything's limited, your seventh chakra have no programming, and so what ends up happening is in each of those instances, to honor our family, we have to make the choice between being who we actually are and being loved. And we always choose love because we know inside that if we don't get loved and supported and don't conform in some way to the family's rules, they won't even know they won't know how to deal with us. If we stayed in that non-form world and we were like, no, you can't name me. How can you name this? I'm the whole universe, right? Your parents would send you to the loony bin. We know we would be put up for adoption if we were not able to do that. And so we always choose love and attention over our true self. And when we lose that quality, the way we do that is by vowing to hide that quality, or we vow to always show just one quality over another one. So that, for me, I learned to be I learned to be a really smiley, good, upbeat boy.
So that leads to a lot of repression. How do you use the bowls? Can you use the bowls to deal with like repressed emotions and things like that?
Yeah. Every time you play a bowl, you feel something, right?
To be honest, I don't have a whole ton of experience, but I just have this one beat up one in the studio.
Okay.
It's like a traditional.
Right now. Okay. Do you know which bowl it is?
No, he doesn't know what bowl it is. No, it's like an old.
It doesn't have a label in it.
No, it's an old traditional Tibetan style bowl. It's metal and it's a metal one.
Brass it wouldn't help. The Tibetan bowls are really good for like meditation because there we go.
Yeah. Okay.
The Tibetan bowls are really good for meditation because the next octave up from the crystal world, which we live in, is the metal world. So they pull us up out of our body more and into the sort of this next octave of reality above us. But they don't really punch us in the stomach like the crystal bowls do. The crystal bowls are like, this is your life, deal with it. and so that's why I use them, because I have an energy medicine school that has no fluff involved. It's like nothing we do in the school has any fluff. People come in, they come in 5 weekends a year for full weekends, and they dig, and they have fun, and we play, and it's like, okay, to me, the sign of a soulful person is a person that knows how to laugh uncontrollably and has just a blast in life. And when people come in, they're so serious about everything, and I'm like, that's not your soul. That's nothing to do with your soul. There is no such thing as a serious soul. The soul is just laughing and playing and loving how serious you think you are, and learning how to feel again is really the key. So when you play a crystal bowl, every time you play a crystal bowl, you feel something. And some people even say, well, I didn't feel anything. I'm like, okay, so tell me what happened when you didn't feel anything. And because I've found, after doing tens of thousands of people through workshops, that there's an infinite number of ways not to feel. And everybody it's like, why, what was going on? What was happening in your head? Because when you're not feeling something in your body, you're probably thinking something in your head. And so, and whatever happens when the bowl plays tells you either what your highest potential is in this moment, in that dimension of your life, or it tells you how you're blocking it. So, and when you learn to read the body, the energy body, which is what energy medicine's about, you read not only the know what's happening in the energy field at all these different levels, but you also understand that underlying that, the chakras serve the purpose of life. the chakras aren't independent of your life purpose, and you have chakras that only serve your profile, what we call this profile. This profile is the primary archetype, which is what Jung called he was talking about the primary archetype, but he didn't have the profile, so he just called it everybody has a primary archetype. He didn't know that there were these 5, but these 5 are the primary archetypes that we build everything on, and our chakras are the servants of our purpose.
And you talk about this when you do the questionnaire, that you have to be mindful of not just how you're feeling now, but how your profile, how you've been throughout life, right? It's more of a general thing, so you can figure out not just like where you're at now, but in general, right?
Yeah, I mean, you realize if you're really picking your profile or your real purpose in life, and that's really the ultimate goal, not just sort of like who I am now. Because if I had taken my profile assessment back when I was in my 30s, I would have definitely, come out with a lot of knowledgeable achiever in there, and said, well, that's definitely what I am. But knowing now, what I know, and I've positioned the questions in a way that it triggers slightly different ways of getting at this. It would have also really shown that I was actually higher in the creative idealist, which is very similar to the knowledgeable achiever. But that the idea, I would say, well, the way I think about this is a very achieving oriented. But the truth is that the way I think about it is very creative, very sort of dissociated, and really out there and coming up with new ideas. So the use of the profile assessment to discover who you are, the one that's in the book is the initial assessment, just sort of like, okay, let's go through this. And you want to look back and say, who I have been was stamped on my forehead when I was born. It was a contract I made. My soul made a contract to come into the world and express something very specific. It's really simple. It's so hard to figure out, but it's really simple. It's like, we're here to be creative. We're here to be compassionate. We're here to be, we're here to stand up and advocate for people. We're here to just something. It's like there's this one thing we're here to do that our soul said, okay, good. Now here's all the contracts you're going to have in this lifetime where you're going to get betrayed. You're going to get, you're going to have issues with this type of person. You're going to have a parent who won't ever let you have, that won't advocate for anybody. And then you're going to say, well, I'm going to advocate for everybody, and you're going to, and you're going to have all of these contracts you have in your life that force you to make choices for in the positive or the shadow or the light, but ultimately are constantly leading you. Everything that's ever happened in your life, you should be able to relate to your profile. Everything, every event. So
let's talk about the 5. You got the 5 profiles there, right? So you got creative idealist, emotional intelligence specialist, team player, charismatic leader, charmer, and knowledgeable achiever, right? So I have to be honest, I have a hard time answering these kind of questions, because a lot of times I feel like I have a bit of each, and then tallying it up. Darren and I both did this, so maybe you can help us sort of figure out our tallies here. Yeah, who wins? So, what an evil laugh. So I came up with 9, 9, 11, 6, 4. So 9 and 9. So I felt like the first three were almost tied. So creative idealist, emotional intelligence specialist, and team player were all fairly high. And yet I thought that the other 2 were just as high as well, but when I tallied them up, they weren't. So okay, so you had 9 creative idealist, 9 emotional intelligence specialist, 11 team player. Yeah. And then 6 charismatic leader. Yeah. And 4 knowledgeable achiever. Okay. Yeah. All right, Darren, what do you have?
I had 9, 3, 10, 13, and 9.
Wow.
Okay. Huh. All right, good. So, all right. So, let's start. We can start with you one, but Graham, you went first. So let's start with you. First of all, both of you have high scores in all but one profile.
Okay.
Right?
Yep. Well, high if 6 is considered high, yeah.
Yeah, I mean 6 is but 1 11 and 1 6, but you got 2 9s,
Yeah.
an 11 and a 6. 6 is only 3 off, so
Yeah.
I mean 6 is a little bit lower. So Graham, you definitely lean more toward the creative and softer elements of life, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're not like a guy going out, you're not going to a bar and looking for a fight.
No.
Okay. All right. And so those are your strong suits, but you do see yourself in the charismatic leader, and there's no way for you to be on the radio without having some charismatic leader.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because the charismatic leader's job is to inspire other people, and you happen to do it through your deeper feelings and through your creative nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been more of a lead, like, honestly, as far as the leader goes, I've had more of a past of, like, managing large groups of people and coaching teams and stuff like that. But I'm not in that sort of leadership capacity anymore, but.
Well, I mean, you are in what you're doing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you have 4 out of 5 they're big, you've got 3 out of 5 that are big, and one that's pretty solid. 6 is a solid score. And this, by the way, this is the profile assessment in the book is the initial one that you take just to sort of get started, and then you read the questions, and then you run the questions through the process as you go through the book. But there is, the next level up of this is that rather than 100 questions, there's a 500 question test that assesses a lot of other elements, like your secondary profiles and and it also helps you with your understand which of the questions you answered from defense and which ones you answered from core, which also help to do this. But this is a really good this is a really good assessment that gets everybody going. And so you had, so you had this larger group, and whenever you have, and what we talk about in the book is whenever you have 4 out of 5 that are really high, you're dealing with a charismatic leader.
Huh. That can bring in other profiles as
that by their nature they have more acting ability. They use the other profiles to to express themselves. So rather than just being sort of like your typical charismatic leader, which is like a warrior or a CEO or somebody that's like super powerful, you may have this other. You've got this creative idealist quality within you as well that's much more sort of like your purpose, the way you like to inspire people, the way you like to lead is by helping people out, doing nice things for people. Yeah. You have got the softer sort of emotional side of the charismatic leader rather than the aggressive.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
I would say that you fall into sort of like the gentle charismatic leader who's really, for all intents and purposes, lives more in creative idealist and trying to think up great ways to do things than being really aggressive and controlling.
Yeah, nicely done. Okay, let's go to Darren's.
All right, so Darren, you've got a little more of the aggressive and controlling. What you've got is you've got strength in all but the emotional one. And
yeah, my wife would definitely agree with that. I'm working on it, though. I'm working on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you may not be wired for that. It's like you got to have a chakra for that. But the fact is that when you're on the radio, by your nature, you got to be able to think on your feet, which is one of the charismatic leader qualities. But also the type of radio you're doing right now, which is more spiritual. That's that. You connect to creative idealist. I think that the team player quality within you is I'm not sure which ones you picked, but they may be more, like you said, you've got a family. They may be more that you are protective of other people, that you feel like you're probably protective of Graham, right?
No.
Never?
Well, kinda. I wouldn't let anyone beat him up.
Right. Well,
but I like to poke fun at his expense whenever I can.
Well, yeah, but if someone else were poking fun at his expense, how would you feel about it?
He'd laugh.
Depends how serious it was.
It depends how serious it was, right? Exactly. You'd know that if someone were really putting him down, you'd get in their face.
Probably. I guess we'd have to test it.
You have to test that out, right? Right. So yeah, but the fact that you saw, you picked a lot of the charismatic leader ones is a sign that you've carried that energy and that you carry it in a strong way. And you also picked strong achiever. So the number 5 and number 4 and 5 are the strongest qualities. And when you have both of those, when you score high on both of those, you're a strong personality.
I would probably agree with that.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm boss.
And the fact that you picked a bunch of caretaking ones is you may do less people pleasing, which is part of the caretaker. The third and the number 3. That's strong quality where you caretake other people and you're there for them. You may find that you do it out of if I do this for other people, they're going to at least be doing it my way. So the charismatic leader is a great. Of course, if a charismatic leader isn't leading a bunch of people, they're not a leader, right?
That's right.
And so they really, by their nature, know how to manage groups and know how to how to help other people get what they want to get to because that's leadership.
Yeah.
But the real charismatic leader, if you really own your power, you realize that even when you're helping other people get what they want, what you're really saying is, hey, let's work as a team and do it my way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to lead you to be more successful. And that's not actually caretaking others. It's sort of helping them do what you know would be best for them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does that make sense to you, Darren?
That does make sense. Yeah, I'm in a leadership role at my work and things like that. Yep. I enjoy it. I do enjoy my job more than most people, probably too. Maybe it's because I'm in my
that's
in where I'm supposed to be doing.
And he thinks he takes a leadership role in the podcast, but he doesn't really.
I just no. Well, I did have to pull you. I did have to drag you and kicking and screaming. Now that you're here, you're loving it. But in the beginning, it was possibility in his genome.
Yeah.
Nice. So what type of work do you do?
Construction.
Construction. Okay, yeah, and that's very much of a charismatic leader, and knowledgeable achiever type of job. What do you do there? What's your role?
I run the field employees.
Okay, yeah. So you're managing tough guys, and to manage tough guys, you got to be tough.
Yeah,
strong.
Yeah,
and you got to say we're going to work as a team, and we're doing it my way. Because if you do it your way, someone's going to get hurt.
That's right. Or stairs get installed wrong.
Right, and then it's my problem, and I'm not going to make it my problem. It's going to be your problem first, right? So Graham, what do you do?
I work in the same company, and I just do the office part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Office work in the construction company.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Which goes along with your creative idealist, sort of like that other part of you where you're running, you get to run things, you get to do things, but basically, you're happy to just, help out. You do care, in the way you do your work is much more sort of like, softer and caring and nurturing type of part. And that's your leadership role.
Yeah.
So good. Awesome. Yeah. And so you look at your big numbers, and those are your primaries. And you'd want to look, Graham, and see if those things serve what you really want, how you really want to lead, or whether those are really what you enjoy doing, being creatively helping and nurturing other people. And then you do some leading. Those could be more your primary energies. So when you look at the test, this test only gives you, it's only got 100 questions in there. And it's only, So, it's only got 20 of each profile, and those are divided 10 in the shadow or the negative and 10 in the positive. So, so they're not, you're not gonna get incredibly deep in this, but this gave you both sort of like we got a lot going on here in these different. I do a lot of these different behaviors, and when you've got a lot of behaviors, that's a sign usually of a of a person who's more versatile, which would mean a charismatic leader.
So let's talk about after you do that, then you have a chapter on each one as well, and you can you also have guided meditations as well to help tap into that or get into how to look at how your defense mechanism is for each profile as well, right?
Yeah, and the big meditation is the one that we that everybody wants to do, is going back and finding that place in your childhood that was what we call your secret place, like the place where you were totally able to be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And when you loved, it was like, you'd sneak out of the house and you'd go to your little place. I had a few different ones. I had a tree that I'd climb all the way up on the top of, and I would imagine I was flying, I loved being up high, like out, literally, like my creative ideals out of my body, up in the heavens. I loved doing that, and then I also had a place that I went where up in the woods where there was like a rocky knoll. I would go in there and I loved the idea of a superhero, and I would make different superheroes out of rocks and sticks and dirt and mud and whatever it was. I was making these things, and I was imagining all these different things that we could make superheroes of. And of course, I didn't know about Marvel Comics. I would have a million superheroes already developed, but I was making them up as I went along. And so now here's the two things I do in my school. I bring this sort of like I channel this sort of this consciousness, the new ways of seeing yourself and your soul, in each moment from that sort of higher place up in the tree. And then the one thing that I do with every person in the school before they graduate is they know for sure what their superhero is. Like, what is inside of you? What's your, I was just writing some things about, another way to look at it is each one of us has an Olympic event in us that we are born to get gold in. And we need to spend our whole life, our whole life should be, focused on discovering what event we can get a gold in, because that's the one that everybody needs us to do so we can inspire them. So when these, crazy bunch of athletes. Okay?
I've got a silver last week. Is silver okay?
Last week?
Not at the Olympics.
Well, let's see. Well, it's the Canadian Ball Hockey Olympics.
That's true.
Equivalent.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, and if you're getting a silver, you're probably getting pretty close. So, but which is the key is there's one thing you're here to inspire the world with, and you got to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I do with one of the things we do in the program is and we have actually a lot of Canadians in the program. They come down, they love this stuff because Canadians definitely are more open to this for some reason. Our Americans are trained in allopathic medicine in a hardcore way, but anyway, so you're finding this quality within you, this superhero quality. That was really fun, and and I've been doing that ever since I was a kid. So each of us, when we find this place that we actually remember being loving, like that was the place I used to go and hide, and then later you gave up on it, and you gave out, you started sports and you did other things, and you got a girlfriend, and it was just like that was totally lost. The truth is that what you did in that secret place is actually the same thing you're going to do in your life to inspire the world as an adult. That's going to be your business. It's going to be how you really inspire people and change people.
Did you have a secret place, Darren?
I can't remember.
I took a while to get to my secret place. I was thinking when I was back a little kid, and then I remembered I had a tree. There's a sort of a treed area, like a little clearing The tree up on this
How
hill
old
behind
were
my
you?
place at like 9, I think.
Oh, that old. So what grade is that?
It's like grade 3 or 4, maybe.
No, I don't.
I'm not sure.
I don't think.
Yeah,
I
it
did.
is. I think you're in 3rd grade or 4th grade.
My
right there, yeah.
bedroom, I think. Like I had a bedroom off on its own down in the basement. So
Yep, that can do it too.
Yeah.
It'll be the bedroom as long as you can feel like when you close the door. Some people have a closet or a crawl space or a basement or attic or something. It's like somehow that's a space that nobody else can get in, and then you don't have to play by the rules of the house. Because inside a parent's house is their energy, and there's rules that are just established. They're like energetic rules. It's like a keyhole that you got to fit through. And when you walk into their house, those energetic rules, that energetic keyhole, forces you to bend your body and crunch yourself down to fit into their world. And, but the issue is that when you're actually who you are, your field's totally expanded. You're non-form. You're not even thinking, I'm a boy and I'm doing this and this is what I'll ultimately do in my life. You're just dreaming. Your whole existence is a dream. And that's true of a conscious person. You're not thinking your way through life. You're literally, part of the flow of the universe, and you're creating your dream as you go.
The problem with my secret place is this would have been 1979 or 78.
I wasn't
And
even
there's
born
a bunch
yet.
of ripped up Playboys there and all that. So of course, like me and my friends are, you're getting your first view of like naked women. So that's where my superhero. That's probably why.
Superheroes
That's probably
are
why I
pervert.
loved
That
Wonder
makes
Woman.
a lot of sense.
No, like I loved Wonder Woman when I was a kid. That was my superhero, probably.
Superhero. Perfect. Well, and also, so this lends to the a little bit to how strong your creative idealist is. Creative idealists love fantasy.
There you go.
They
I've
love
said
fantasy.
too much
And
again.
of course, at 9, little boys fantasize about all that stuff. So, but but yeah, for sure, that would be something. That's what creative idealists love. The internet. They love anything. They the more there is, the better it is.
So what about the lower and the higher self? You talk a bit about that, how you can't spend, even before we started chatting here, we were talking a little bit about that. You mentioned that, you can't stay in your higher self for too long, but that's where the soul is, I guess. Right. But
yeah, well, the higher self and lower self, what I talk about in the book, once again, I've sort of taken some of the greatest thinkers in the world, who have really established that there's this lower self that's sort of like your base instincts and your animal and your lizard brain and it's it's aggressive and cause all the problems. And then you get this higher self, which is your soul and your wisdom and all that. And the great thing about doing the work that I do is I get to run this through thousands of people. And what I've found is that that's not true. What I found is that each of us have a lower self quality that is just as much a part of our life purpose as our higher self quality. And when the two integrate, we become a human being, not a soul in a body, not a body, being successful and driven and winning at all costs, but like a human being that really is establishing this radiant purpose in life that it will wake up other human beings to their deeper purpose in life, which is really the goal. The goal is we tend to either be in survival mode where we're just get what we need to get and get it in the bank and screw everybody else. We're going to block ourselves off. We're going to just protect ourselves. We're going to get a gun. We're going to do whatever it is. Whatever the thing is that we're doing in the lower self, we need to survive. And that's we're either caught in that, or people tend to get into this sort of sense of, well, there's really a higher purpose, and that higher purpose is this, and all good people do this, and these are both wounds of the lower chakras. The lower chakras are the lower self, and it's where you've either rejected your lower self or you've just embraced it and said, this is the only way to survive.
And it kind of like all the chakras being in balance, really, would be the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
So the upper three chakras are the higher self, the lower three chakras are the lower self, and the heart is really as close to the soul energy as we have in the chakra system. And so the heart is the sort of the wisdom to remind the higher self that it doesn't have the energy to do anything on its own in the physical world. The lower chakras have all of the power to do things and to express yourself and to be solid and really, really make a vibrational difference in the world. You have to have the lower chakras. You have to be a person to be able to make a difference in the world. You can't just be a spirit. If spirits could have changed the world, they already would have. People have to change the world. Now, our wisdom, the higher self that knows what we're here to do with this body, with this, and knows that we have a very specific purpose for all these gifts and skills and energies and emotions and things that we have uniquely in the world. When that comes together, the heart says, okay, you both are right. Yes, you have this higher purpose, which is very altruistic, and simultaneously, it has to serve your individual evolution. So the higher self says, we need to evolve all of humanity and be part of this higher wisdom in the world. And the lower self says, whoa, if it's not good for me, I'm not freaking doing it. And the reality is that when your heart gets involved and integrates the two, you can choose something that totally serves you and evolves humanity. So I use Martin Luther King as the perfect example. The guy, the only way he could be that altruistic, to literally be willing to die for his cause, he had to be simultaneously the biggest narcissist. This lower self had to be massively narcissistic to be able to be that altruistic. And let me explain. So to be the one that has to stand up and say what needs to be said, you have to know you're the one. Mm-hmm. You have to believe that what your mission is the mission. That's a narcissistic, that's a sense of what I'm doing is the thing that will change the world. I have to see myself that way. Yeah. And I have to live the life of really struggling between what I want and what I want to do for others. But ultimately, when he found his mission and was able to do that, which charismatic leaders do, they find their mission, and their mission will be to save other people, to support other people, to bring people out of the darkness, and to battle with the forces that be. That's what he did, and he was able to integrate himself in that moment and make his, and live his total purpose. Now, it's an interesting story I heard a couple of years ago. There was a gentleman on, they had an interview recorded of one of the closest workers with Martin Luther King. The guy, was basically everything he did. He was part of that whole, of the whole journey from beginning to end. And he said that Martin Luther King, about 6 months before the marches, Martin Luther King left the country, and he wasn't coming back. And he went to India, of all places, and he went to the ashram where Gandhi went to soul search before he did his walk. And he went there, and he wanted to, find out what's the real truth here. And he knew he was going to get killed. He knew that the chance of him surviving was nil. And he wasn't sure he wanted it that bad. He wasn't sure that was what his mission was. And he went there, and he meditated, and he did this, and he came back, and he did it. And he died for it. But that self-preservation was first. And then he had to say, and I'm bigger than that. And there's something in me, this higher self, this higher purpose, takes this person that I am, and he was not a man without his shadows. He had all sorts of issues. And they say that he had depression and bipolar and all sorts of other things that go along with real power. And it's because it can be used for both shadow and light. And he had to make this choice of what his purpose was, what he was really here to stand for in life, and he did it. And so he's sort of the premier example, but each of us have these qualities that can be just sort of petty and controlling and manipulative, that we kind of go, well, I'm not really that, I'm really this, I'm really this higher self, I'm really, a better person than that. But the truth is you're not a better person than that. And that quality actually isn't what you think it is. It's actually energy that will give your higher purpose its actual legs, its actual power to do something.
Right. That makes sense. So we've covered most of the book, but the one thing before we wrap it up that I wanted you to mention is about the mates, like your soulmates and relationships, and how you've defined some of the advantages of being, with somebody of this certain type or that type of thing, or how you can actually mitigate certain differences and that type of thing.
Well, one of the things about soulmates, and this is one of the major things I do at the school. And by the way, the school's URL is RhysThomasInstitute.com. Okay. And the book URL is discoveryourpurposebook.com. You can also buy it on Amazon, but if you buy it on the discoveryourpurposebook.com, you'll also get some videos and a lot of support materials and things like that, other bonus stuff.
Okay. I'm going to put all those links in the show notes for people as well. They can just click on that.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So, when we're talking about soulmates, what I do at the school is I create each year, I put out there, we got another year started, and we do somewhere between 40 and 50 students usually each year that come into the program, and there's a 3-year training that we do, but it's 1 year at a time. It's 3 modules, and most people do them in order, because what happens is that when you come in and discover who you are, and the very first weekend, we point out to everybody in the room who they actually are. Now, the person who we're talking to is the only one that doesn't actually fully get it, because it's really hard to see yourself. But everybody else in the room sees you for who you really are. And when you are in relationships with people who don't see your story, they don't see your mask, they see who you really are, that's a soul relationship. That's like the beginning of a soul relationship. So learning the profiles, learning how to read the profiles, learning how to see the greatness in other people is the way the soul sees. So the easiest way to find a soulmate is to learn who you are and then who someone else is, and recognize that there isn't one person on the planet that isn't amazing. So that's the first easy piece. Once you learn the profiles, you just start liking people more, and truly, if you really are honest about it, by the time we turn, 35 or 40, we don't really like people that much anymore. It's just like, you like the people that are helping you out, and pretty much everybody else is just a pain in the ass. But the truth is that people are amazing, and you'll only learn who you are by being in relationship with more and more new people, and every person that you meet and make friends with, you can see more of yourself in their eyes. That's how you know who you are. You can't actually see who you are directly. Your life purpose, I always say, your life purpose is stamped on your forehead, and you can't see it. If you look, you can look up. When you look in the mirror, it's always backward. You can't quite figure out what your life purpose is, but you can see it in the eyes of other people, because when you're being your life purpose, their eyes shine when they see you, and you can see the sparkle in their eyes as they perceive that. And when you're trying to be somebody that you aren't, there's always a dull look in their eye. And you're like, oh, so you learn who you are through that. Now, in the bigger picture, there are 2 out of the 5 profiles. There are 4 of them that are relational and 1 that is not. And 4 of them that are more relational. They're all, of course, relationship oriented in the world. But the charismatic leader will always find their soulmate and partner in a team player. And they're natural partners, because the charismatic leader is a one and only leading, and the team player is I want to help you lead. I want to support you. I'm a super supporter of you and your leadership. And they're not self-centered. They want to help others. So those two are a natural pair. And the team player teaches the charismatic leader in their life how to care more about people, which they have to if they're ever going to lead people. And the charismatic leader teaches the team player to set their boundaries and not just be a doormat. Right? So they serve each other. So they teach each other what they really need to do, because a team player is a person who has 50-50 relationships. They don't do 80-20 in relationship. They do 50-50, but they always do their 50%. They will always do their work. Maybe a few more percentage points, but they don't. But they know that if they're doing 80% of the work in a relationship, they're going to eventually get resentful and not like it. So the charismatic leader says, yeah, you do count, and you count at least 50%. And so they learn that from each other. And then the other two natural soulmate combinations are the knowledgeable achievers and the emotional intelligence specialist. Even though they seem like the charismatic leader and team player, they seem like opposites. Those opposites are what attract, and those opposites are what teach the other one about it. And most people, when they find their first relationships, will find that combination. And then divorce comes because they actually end up standing in such judgment of the other person. So the knowledgeable achiever is like the Tin Man. They're the totally focused, driven. They're often emotionless. They have less emotion because they hold their emotions back so they can achieve. And the emotional intelligence specialist, of course, is all emotions and feelings. And so what happens is that but the emotional intelligence specialist really holds the heart, and the charismatic and sort of the knowledgeable achiever is this person who really has a very delicate heart on the inside. They protect it like the Tin Man. Tin Man was always looking for his heart. It's funny that's how that worked. But they actually protect their heart because it's actually very, very tender. They actually care a lot. The knowledgeable achiever, is really a very compassionate person and helps a lot of people become successful. But so the emotional intelligence specialist reminds the knowledgeable achiever that without feelings, they can't actually feel who's right for what job, and they're often great managers and organizers. And so they can't feel that. And then the knowledgeable achiever teaches the emotional intelligence specialist how to sort of recognize that their feelings are actually a power and a strength, and they learn how to contain their feelings long enough to see what the feeling is guiding them to. Because the emotional intelligence specialist, left to their own devices, is just flow of feelings and feelings and feelings and feelings, and they never really can figure out what's happening in the world because they're being overwhelmed by everything. Whereas the knowledgeable achiever teaches them to contain those feelings just long enough that the wisdom in the feeling comes out, and they become these deeper, this deeper wisdom. And then, of course, the last one, the creative idealist, tend not to be in relationship with people as much as their ideas and their sort of like their creative endeavors, their art, their books, their things like that, and they will come into their relationships through their secondary. So their soulmates come in through their secondary qualities, unless they meet and decide that they want to be with a creative idealist, which is totally fine. And then there also can be soulmates.
So even if people aren't matching up directly, I guess you recommend that couples do that, and then even being aware of each other's profile would help.
Totally.
I guess, yeah.
Totally. I mean, if the matching sites on
the internet, like Match.com and all those,
Match.com, those things, if they use this system, they would have. I mean, I don't know what the percentage would be, but I would bet that they get 20 or 30% more success rate than they do. Is
that what you're going to start up in the future here? That's a good idea.
No, I don't really care about that crap.
What do you got going on? What do you got going on now?
Well, what I'm actually doing right now is I'm working on a book, a business book. How do you start your own business, or if you're already in a business, how do you make sure that your business really is you? It's like if you now you know your life purpose. Okay, so what's your deliverable? So the business book says, okay, everybody's got everybody not only has who they are, but you've also got a deliverable. And that deliverable is your business. It is like whatever you say your business is, you make a widget or you've got a service business or you got whatever. There's something that your profile and then your unique profile delivers and that people walk away with. And that's really the key. So it's a book that's going to be about how to use the profiles to discover what you actually deliver, how to deliver it, and and then how to market it in the world so that it supports, so you can, get your individual message out, which everybody's waiting for. No, there isn't a person on the planet that doesn't have a unique message that there are lots of people on the planet that are waiting for.
Right on. That sounds like a good compliment.
Yeah. Are you on Twitter or Facebook or anything like that our listeners can track you down? Yep.
You can track me down on Facebook at Rhys Thomas Institute is on there, as well as my personal site, and so that's in there, and you can also find me on Twitter as well.
Right on. I really think it was an in-depth book. Like I've read enough self-help stuff to tell that this is pretty deep.
Not quite enough.
It gets to that deep level. It's good. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks.
No fluff in this book. This is about changing life. Yeah. So discover your purpose. So it probably took me 10 years to get that book completed.
Right.
So
Wow.
There's a lot in there. There's a lot of pages on the floor of the Creative Idealist. There's probably 1,000 pages on the floor.
Right on. Well, thanks for sharing your story with us too, and coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Listen, it was great. You guys rock.
All right, buddy. Take care. Eh?
Thanks, Rhys.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Big thanks to Rhys for coming on the program. Graham's going to piss himself. No, that was a good one. Those little tests were actually pretty good. I seen you as being an emotional little dude. Yeah.
Little dude, eh?
Sorry. I seen you.
That's huscular to you.
I seen you as being an emotional guy. Little guy. Just guy.
What was your scores again? What were you? Can I see your book for a sec?
No. I was a creative leader.
He combines two of them together right there. He's the creative leader. Oh, you were a bit of a team player too, and a creative idealist and a charismatic leader. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
And I'm emotionally retarded.
Yeah. So James thinks we're soulmates?
Yeah. No chance. No chance.
We'd be player and the leader.
I've been on the fence about divorcing this guy already for 3 years.
No, but that was good. I love the crystal bowl stories too, as well. Like I like his story of sort of awakening and getting into the energy healing and all that.
Absolutely. Maybe I should get a crystal pipe.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever you want. I'm a team player.
Yeah. Check out Grimerica.ca/support for all the different options there and how you can sign up for a monthly or do a one-time donation and help us stay ad sponsor and affiliate free. And sign up for the newsletter, Grimerica.ca/news. Spam Graham. What else?
Thanks to Rhys for coming on.
Big thanks to Rhys.
T-shirts and art.
That's right. Send your art to nap@grimerica.com. And
a couple T-shirts left.
There's some T-shirts. We'll probably go the Redbubble route eventually.
Yeah, you've had good feedback on Redbubble, right?
All the feedback on Redbubble has been good.
That's the place that people can just go onto our page on Redbubble and order a bunch of swag or whatever.
Yeah, and then we could have unlimited designs.
Right, so we can just throw
all the art people send us could become stickers and art. And they're kind of just made to order by a third party, and they can actually make them and ship them for around the same, like we're not looking to make any money off them anyway, so the shirts are going to end up being the same, or, they'll be within $5 of where they are now.
Yeah. But if people send in their episode art, and even for the back catalog, we can, so you're saying that we can plug up those designs as well?
Yeah, those could all be stickers. It's just,
or even T-shirts, really, if you wanted an episode art on a T-shirt or something. Yeah. Because there's some pretty cool episode art out there.
Well, then you probably want us to...
to what?
Take the Grimerica stamp and stuff off of it.
No. What? That's the whole point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
we'd have to add a URL or something on the art.
Would we?
No,
I don't think so. We could just be fashionistas.
Okay.
Maybe we'll just ditch the podcast because it's the swag. The swag's so good. I don't see that coming.
I doubt it. All right.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Before Graham pisses himself, we'll let him get out of here. See you guys next week.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters, directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world using a satellite phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York, while in Washington a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon in the budget analyst office where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10th, 2001. Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes.
Osama bin Laden.
The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbored them.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, Peake, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, and as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. It didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is ultimately of little practical significance. Still, the 9/11 Commission did brilliantly answering all of the questions the public had, except most of the victims' family members' questions, and pinned blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were
failure of imagination.
Because
Nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
Except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. The SEC destroyed their records on the investigation into the insider trading before the attacks, but that's okay because destroying the records of the largest investigation in SEC history is just part of routine record keeping. NIST has classified the data that they used for their model of WTC-7's collapse, but that's okay because knowing how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize public safety. The FBI has argued that all material related to their investigation of 9/11 should be kept secret from the public, but that's okay because the FBI probably has nothing to hide. This man never existed, nor is anything he had to say worthy of your attention, and if you say otherwise, you are a paranoid conspiracy theorist and deserve to be shunned by all of humanity. Likewise him, and her. And her, and her, and him. Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. This is the story of 9/11, brought to you by the media which told you the hard truths about
his head could be seen to move violently forward.
And
they took the babies out of the incubators.
And
mobile production facilities.
And
the rescue of Jessica Lynch.
If you have any questions about this story, you are a batshit paranoid tinfoil dog-abusing baby hater and will be reviled by everyone. If you love your country and or freedom, happiness, rainbows, rock and roll, puppy dogs, apple pie, and your grandma, you will never ever express doubts about any part of this story to anyone. Ever. This has been a public service announcement by the Friends of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DIA, SEC, MSM, White House, NIST, and the 9/11 Commission. Because ignorance is strength.